Here are 13.5 things that I wish I knew before freelancing on Upwork. And make sure you stick around for the last point, because if you take nothing else from that video, I want to make sure that point is the one that you remember from here. The first and most important thing is that to gain real momentum on the Upwork platform, it takes at least 6 months to 1 year. I thought to myself when I first started freelancing that I could literally apply for a few jobs, win a few contracts, win a few projects, and I'll be on my way. Little did I know that my first job was only $5 an hour. My second job wasn't much better either. And it was only through a period of time, maybe after a few months or so, where I really started to gain momentum, understand who I was as a person in terms of on the online platform, and really develop my niche. At that point in time, I had a few bad clients. I made a few mistakes as well. It was sort of a back and forth, but around the 6-month mark, I started to know a little bit of momentum. And after being consistent for 1 year, that's when things really start taking off for me on Upwork. The second point over here is that you need to have the ability to market yourself. It doesn't matter what field you're in, whether you're an accountant, whether you're a lawyer, an engineer, a doctor, or whatever service you offer on Upwork. But if you don't know how to market yourself, if you don't know how to market your skills or what you do for a living, you're never going to be successful. And the reason why that is that if you want to get someone to notice you, how do you do that? You need an amazing profile. You need an amazing proposal when you send your proposal for a job. And then at the same time, you need to nail your interview. And what are you doing in all those 3 stages? You are selling yourself. You're selling your services. You're selling your skill. And at the end of the day, if the person does not like who they're working with, and if you're not able to market yourself in a way to show the fact that you're the best out there, no one's going to go with you. So yes, at the end of the day, skill does matter. I don't deny that. But at the same time, when you apply for a job, there's going to be 30 to 40 other people who have the same skill set as you. So what sets you apart from everyone else? And that's going to be those little details, how you sell yourself, how you market yourself, how you present yourself, whether it's during the process of when you send your proposal, whether it's during the time when the client looks at your profile, or during the interview. It's all about marketing yourself. So in that scenario, this is one thing that I wish I knew earlier as well, because I thought to myself that I could literally write down anything that I want on my profile and write a proposal by just saying, this is who I am. And then when the interview comes around, I simply again restate my skills and automatically they're gonna give me the job. And that was furthest from the truth. Thirdly, expect the fact that there's going to be good clients and bad clients on the Upwork platform. This is an expectation and a reality that I did not have when I first started. I thought to myself that there's Upwork and then there's Fiverr. Fiverr has all the bad freelancers, Fiverr has all the bad clients. Upwork's not gonna have any of that stuff. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And I'm not saying Upwork's bad or all the clients or freelancers are bad, but at the same time, the expectation that I had where everything's going to be amazing was not the case at all. I remember I had 2 scenarios. The first scenario is that someone said that my work was not good. They did not even give me a second to explain what I presented to them. They didn't even care about that. They closed the contract, left me a terrible review, and they walked away. And then on top of that, they asked for a refund. In that scenario, I was shocked because I thought to myself, these type of scenarios don't happen on Upwork. So I was really caught off guard in that scenario. A second situation occurred where again, there's a false expectation in terms of what the client expected from me and in terms of the work that was supposed to be delivered. So what ended up happening was that it was a terrible contract, right? Just from the beginning, due to miscommunication, due to the way I handled it, due to the way the client responded as well. And again, for me, in that scenario, I began to realize that Upwork is not perfect. I'm going to run into good clients and bad clients as well. And the sooner I realized that, the better it became for me afterwards, so that when I had a bad client, I knew exactly how to deal with it. Fourthly, the point that I want to emphasize over here is that you must know your own self-worth. The biggest mistake that I see on Upwork is that every single person that comes on there sets their rate as low as possible. They offer their services for $5 an hour, $7 an hour, $10 an hour, and sometimes I've even seen VAs offer their services for $3 an hour. If Upwork is taking a cut every single time, imagine what you're getting for yourself. If you take away the fact that Upwork takes their fee, then you pay taxes, and then on top of that, you pay for the services, for example, subscription services for software that you have for your industry, what are you left with? But the mentality that most people come onto the Upwork platform is that I need to be as cheap as possible in order to attract clients. But they don't understand that they have a standard and they have to have a level of self-worth. So even though it's tempting, and sure, I understand for that first job, you may want to reduce your rate by a little bit, don't settle for the $5 per hour person. And the reason why that is that when you settle yourself in that category, the client's also going to think that you don't have a background or experience in that industry, regardless of the knowledge that you have though. But by simply putting yourself in that category, the client's not going to take you seriously as well. So always respect your self-worth and start off with something that's more reasonable. And again, I'm not saying full price for the first time because you're just starting out, or maybe you only have a few projects. I'm not saying that at all. Be reasonable enough that you maintain your self-worth. The fifth point over here is that you will not have all the answers. This is something that took me so long to understand, because I thought to myself, every single time the client comes to me with a question, I must have the answer because I'm the expert. But that's far from the truth, because every single day when you're doing your job, there's going to be new circumstances, new questions that come out, new things that you have to learn in your industry, and innovative changes that happen in your industry as well. You can't have every single answer, and it's okay to admit the fact that you don't have the answer. And when you do that, what ends up happening is that the client respects you more. And I made this mistake so many times in the past as well, where the client would ask me a question and I would say, yeah, of course I know that though. Or of course I've done that before. Or for sure, I know exactly what to do over here. And then what I would do is I would set up a false expectation where the client felt that I had presented myself in one way, where in reality, that wasn't the case at all. Now that I've learned that process, anytime I'm faced with a situation where I don't know something, I'm very open and very quick to say, I have no idea, or I don't know this, but you know what? I'm gonna get back to you on this though. And every single time that's happened, the client has said to me, I really respect that, because you're not pretending to know something that you don't know. And instead what you're saying is, I don't have an answer, but guess what? The next time we meet, I'll get back to you and I'll give you an answer for that as well. The sixth point over here is that great portfolios are always going to win jobs. And the reason why that is that when a client is looking through your profile, to be honest, sure, your profile must be good. I 100% agree with you. But what the client wants to see is your past work, because what they're going to do is look at your past work and see the fact that whatever I'm looking for, have you done something similar to that? Do you have certain experiences that are similar to the experiences that that client needs for that specific job? So when they can go through your portfolio and take a look at it quickly and quickly see what they want, that's going to be a no-brainer for them. It's very hard to convince someone by a video call or by speaking on the phone or through any form of communication and simply saying you are an expert. Always remember, seeing is believing. So in this scenario, always make sure your portfolio is top-notch and you're constantly updating that, because when a client goes through it and they're able to see the level of work and the level of perfectionism that you bring to the table, they're going to go out of the way to make sure to hire you for their project. The seventh point over here, and unfortunately this happens to a lot of people, including me, is that you will lose motivation on Upwork. It's very easy to say that you should go on there, apply every single day, work for clients every single day, and that's the only way you're going to succeed. But the reality situation is it's going to be like this though, ups and downs, ups and downs. And there's going to be certain periods, there could be days, weeks, or months where you're just riding a high. You have many clients, lots of work going on. It's a busy season for you and you're up. At the same time, there could be moments, again, days, weeks, or months where you're going down. And in that scenario, when it's going down over here, maybe you're not running, you're not getting clients, you're not getting work. The clients have terminated some contracts for you. You could be applying but not getting responses back. So understand the fact that you will lose motivation, and there may even be times where you step away from the platform. And I had this instance as well in the past where I had a client and it was a very good client, a very good project, but the way it ended wasn't good though. And when the contract ended, I started questioning myself, and I started questioning myself so much that I started to drift away from the platform. And there were months where I did not go back on the platform and I just left it on its own. And then eventually I kind of sorted that out in my mind and I figured out where I went wrong and where the client went wrong over there, and I went back on the platform. But I also lost motivation, even though as someone who had a lot of jobs underneath my belt, but even for me as a person, I lost motivation over there. So it will happen to you too. The eighth point over here is that you will constantly change your niche until you find the right fit. And even then, you may still continue tweaking your niche. When I first started on Upwork, I started in the editing field. Then I got into proofreading. Then I got into book writing. Then I got to thesis editing. Then I got into resume creation. And then I got into Amazon. I got into marketing for Amazon books. Then I got into marketing. I've done so many niches on Upwork. It's not even funny. But the reason why that was that I was not sure of what I wanted to do. And the minute I realized that that's okay, I would pivot even faster. Before, what would happen is that I would make the mistake and think to myself that if I keep changing my niche or industry, what's going to happen is that it's going to be problematic for the clients, because they're going to be like, your jobs are all over the place. And sure, to an extent that's true. But at the same time also, I felt like I needed to do that in order to find out what I really wanted to present and the work that I want to do on Upwork. So that's why I'm going to say the same thing to you as well, is that if you are constantly changing your niche, or you're not sure about what you're doing right now and you have to change your niche a few times, it's okay. You're not stuck to it. And that's why even on Upwork, you have the opportunity to create specialized profiles and main profiles as well. Upwork understands the fact that you may not just be one person who's going to stick to one thing, or you may like to do two different things. So there's an opportunity for that as well. But don't take it the wrong way, even if you have to change your niche a few times. The ninth point, and this is something that I've struggled with for a long time as well, is you will face imposter syndrome. What is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is a scenario where you are going to question your abilities and skills. Even though you have the skills and you have the abilities, but due to a lack of confidence in yourself, you're going to feel like an imposter, that you're not good enough for the job, that you're not qualified for it, that there's so many more people out there that are better than you. And this is something that impacted me for a long time as well. A lot of times when I would get jobs and the pay was really good and it was something that was much more than I had ever gotten before in my life, I would think to myself that, am I really worth this job? Am I really worth the amount I'm being paid every single week? And I would start to question myself, and every single time I would make a mistake, I would think to myself, oh my God, this is it. I'm gonna get fired tomorrow. They're gonna give away the contract tomorrow. The client's gonna terminate the contract because I made this mistake. And that imposter syndrome kept creeping in over and over again. And it was one of those things where I had to constantly fight within myself and in my own mind as well. And I had to convince myself through a process of time where I had to tell myself that I'm an expert in my industry. The person has hired me because they believe I'm an expert. And I have had many jobs on Upwork where I've gotten amazing reviews. So people have validated that as well. So I need to conquer this situation by anytime that this comes up, to reassure myself and give myself those hard facts so that even whenever I have that feeling of imposter syndrome, I'm able to address that. And remember one thing, it doesn't matter how good you are, how much money you've made, it's still going to be part of your life. But what you can do is you can control it so that it does not take over your life when you're freelancing on Upwork. And instead you can understand it as well and then tackle that scenario whenever you're feeling that way. The next point over here, and I think this is something that a lot of people don't really take the time to do, is that I would recommend changing or improving one thing every single day on Upwork. So that could be something like tweaking your profile. That could be maybe a different way of how you handle a client. Maybe that could be looking at your stats, whatever it is though. And even for me as a person, there would be periods in time for months when I start freelancing, I didn't think about anything else. I just started freelancing. And all of a sudden when the contracts were up and I had a lot of spare time on my hands, I would think to myself like, oh, why did this get to this point where I don't have a contract right now? Why did this get to a point where this contract ended this time though? And I never really took the time to really think those things through and really improve on them. Had I done that and had I focused on, as I'm working on these clients, to also improve one thing per day, I would have been in a much better position than I am right now though. But for me, once I got a contract, I started coasting along. I thought, oh, you know what? I have a contract. I don't have to worry about improving things though. I'm okay the way I am though. I can leave my profile half finished for now. It's okay though. But then what would happen is that when my contract was over and I had to get another job again, it was really challenging because again, I had not done those things necessary. And that's why I always recommend try to improve on one thing every single day. The next point over here is that you need to be disciplined and consistent. I cannot stress this enough. Upwork is a game of numbers. And when I say that, I mean to say that you must be applying for jobs every single day. It doesn't matter whether you've made $1 on Upwork, $10, 100, 1,000, 100,000, or 1,000,000. Whatever the situation is, you must apply for jobs every single day. Even for someone like myself, who's been on the Upwork platform for quite some time now, I still need to apply to multiple jobs every single day. And from maybe 15 or 20 jobs, I may get, if I'm lucky, 1 response or 2 responses. And from those 1 or 2 responses, I may get 1 interview. And then from there, after maybe 2 or 3 interviews, I may get 1 job. And this is for someone like myself. Now imagine if you don't have the necessary skills, the background, you're a beginner, it's going to be much harder. But by applying for jobs every single day, it gives you the practice. So you can pick up on clients' needs, you can pick up sort of what's going on in the industry, and you can pick up on different things that are happening. And the only way you can do this is by applying for jobs every single day. And keep in mind one thing, you don't want to be in a situation where you get a job, you finish it, and all of a sudden now you're thinking to yourself, like, I have to now start applying for another job, and there's going to be that gap in between. And the only way to do that is that when you're noticing, for example, things are winding down, or for the fact that if you have 1 really good contract and you want to add to that as well on a smaller level so you can maintain 2 projects, so you never have a dry period, you always have to be applying for jobs. And when you're always applying for jobs, you can make sure that when you have a freelancing contract, it's not the fact that 1 goes and then you have nothing else after that. So that's very crucial of being consistent. And the last but not least point over here, and if you take nothing else away from this, take this 1 point, and that is believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, because I promise you, no one else will. Upwork is a very lonely platform. Freelancing in general is a very lonely platform because you're up against yourself every single day. You have no other competition except for yourself though. And the only way to succeed, no one else is gonna look at you and say, you deserve this, and I need to give you this, and you deserve this job over here. But it is you yourself that is battling with yourself every single day. And you yourself are the one who needs to put in that effort every single day. And if you believe in yourself, and if you put in that effort, I will 100% assure you, you'll be successful. But you can't get away with not believing in yourself because, as I told you before,